The Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds says closing fishing grounds around islands like Dusson, Robben, Dyer and Stony Point could aid in fish stocks replenishing. But temporary prohibition is not the solution. Penguins feed on sardines and anchovies, and there are numerous reasons for the decline in these species. It includes global warming and pollution, but Sankop says one of the contributing factors that can to some extent be controlled is fishing.
This year there have been no closures at all for the fishing around the penguin colonies. We're now coming to the end of the breeding season and the fishing industry has actually caught most of its catch already this year. So we doubt that it's actually going to have a benefit for the penguins. But nevertheless, we obviously welcome that finally we're getting something going and that the Minister has agreed to these interim closures. However, we are a little bit worrisome what's going to happen after January if these interim closures are only in place after January.
Penguin numbers are drastically declining in the wild. In 2008, there were 25,000 breeding pairs. Now, that number is lower than 10,000. The species is fast approaching critically endangered status as finding food becomes a greater challenge each year. The African penguin is an indicator species, meaning if something is happening to the population, it shows there are major problems on a greater scale.
If the penguins are declining, we can see that there's an issue with the ecosystem. So it's actually not only about the penguins, it's also about all the other seabirds, mammals, other fish stocks. So it is actually it's about the entire ecosystem and the health of our ecosystem.
And if that goes, if the ocean is affected that badly?
Well, I don't want to make any predictions, but it doesn't look good.
The interim closure runs from 1 September to 14 January 2023. Government says while there is no consensus between the pelagic fishing industry and conservation organizations, the decision is the best it could take now to support penguin colonies.
The closures will be temporary to allow for an international study to be led by an international scientific panel to be set up. And that will be largely entrusted with reviewing all related science output over the recent years. The review will advise the department on the value of fishing limitations for penguins' success, as well as the impact such limitations will have on the fishing industry, if any at all.
Government says both sectors have committed to abiding by the recommendations of the international panel. A gazette calling for nominations to serve on the International Review Panel will be tabled shortly. Mariska Botha, SABC News, Cape Town.